everyone, it's Brennan, probably better known as Brennan Olive.
Oh my god.
How's that?
That was... I thought that was deeper and slower than Saffron Olive. Saffron Olive's like...
He's quick.
Saffron Olive is very speedy.
Is he?
What's up today, everyone? It's Saffron Olive.
Hello, everyone.
I will fucking burn those bridges.
Yeah, I don't know if Seth's ever coming on the stream. I haven't reached out.
No, well, you should reach out to him.
Yeah, after this podcast, I'll send him the link.
He seems like a really lovely bloke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely has the strangest introduction I've ever heard in my entire life. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is the Knights of the Kitchen Table podcast. My name is Brennan, and today, as always, I'm joined by Spencer.
Hey. What up?
Minty.
Hi.
And Jordan.
Good morning. How's it going?
It is lovely, sir. Today, we will be talking about ramp in general, and a bunch of different subjects related to ramp that we think are important for people. Yeah?
Sweet.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now a moment from our sponsors.
Tumbleweed rolls by.
Buy our cat chow. What?
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
So
That's a wrap, gents.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into our main topic, let's talk a little bit about what's going on the channel this week. Spencer, what are we doing?
Well, hopefully we play some Economander because, that'd be good.
I agree.
Yes, I also agree. What is
that...
Economander? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah, we're gonna have a whole podcast on that, I think.
Oh, right. Okay. Then I'll shut up.
Nobody listening to this, you don't get to know what Economander is unless you show up Thursday.
Just watch. Yeah, you just watch on Thursday.
Or listen to this podcast in the future.
So this Thursday at 7 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/CanadaGeeks, we will be doing week 5 of our Economander League. I'm not sure who's playing on that. I'll be there. I'm in first place. That's all that matters. I'm well ahead of everybody else. And Sunday, we'll also be streaming on Twitch at 8 p.m., playing some Commander with some unknown guests because I have not booked them yet.
Mystery guests. That's what we like to call them.
Mystery guests.
Mr. E-Guest.
Mystery guests.
And Minty, you have your own channel as well. Do you have anything coming out this week?
Yeah, I've got a video on top 5 white cards that I think people should be running more of. And I'm going to do this as a series every year. So every year around this time, I'm going to release 5 videos, one for each colour, about cards that basically I'm playing more of in my decks.
And you're just going to update it each year?
Each colour. Yeah. So
I love that.
Last week I did black cards, and they have I had like a sacrifice theme to that video. And this week I'm going to do white cards with I think an Enter the Battlefield effect theme. So that's what I'm doing this week on my channel.
Very interesting.
In fact, it will already be out by the time this video or this podcast is out.
Nice.
Right. We will put the link in the description. Probably.
Probably if I pay you.
Yeah, you got to sub on Twitch. Okay, so
on Twitch.
Ramp. Thoughts?
I'm all for accessibility.
Well, I think yes, I'm all for accessibility too. Well, I think what we should do is define what we're talking about a little bit. So we're talking about sort of pet ramp cards, I think is a good way of defining it. And ramp cards that we think need a little bit of love. And we've seen a general trend of people playing certain types of ramp, and we want to give our opinions on some different types of ramp that you could be playing instead.
Yeah.
So a lot of people like 2-mana ramp. So signets and talismans and rampant growth style effects, and they are very good, very powerful in Commander. But I think there are some other options that you should explore as well, and don't just jam them in, because there could be some other options that you're missing out on.
Yeah, I think with the like explosion in popularity of Commander, a lot more people are using things like EDH Rec to put their deck list together, or to just find cards in general to put in. And I think people are probably slotting in cards that, while good, could be better.
Yeah, or more synergistic.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a couple here straight away that I think have been definitely done dirty on Magic Twitter and on YouTube here. And that's 4 mana ramp. That's ramp at 4. And I've got 2 examples. So I've got Thran Dynamo and I've got Hedron Archive. And both of these I will run straight face. I think both of them are actually pretty good. I like the fact that both of them produce multiple mana. So Thran Dynamo produces 3 and comes in untapped, and Hedron Archive produces 2 and comes in untapped. And Hedron Archive also has the upside of sacking it in the late game to draw some cards. So once you're out of gas, you can sacrifice it and draw a couple of cards to see if you can, steal the win or protect yourself for another turn, so on and so forth. I really like ramping on 4, because I think a lot of the arguments for ramping early in the game also get you killed. So if you're really, really scary early in the game, so say you've laid out all of your 2 mana ramp and you look like you've got a lot of permanents and your commander's out and whatnot, then you make yourself the target quite quickly. And I think a lot of the dynamic of an EDH game, you have to sort of fly under the radar at certain points and then, pop up and deal with some problematic permanents and then fly underneath the radar again. And I think it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So I actually really like 4 mana ramp for that. Hedron Archive has been particularly poo-pooed recently, and I just don't think it deserves it. I think it's actually really good. People say that it's 6 mana to draw 2 cards. Yeah, okay, very, very late in the game, that might be the case if you draw it off the top. But I definitely would rather pay 6 mana for the potential of drawing 2 cards and potentially finding an answer than having a 2 mana rock late in the game that I can't do anything with. So I'm interested in your guys' thoughts on those 2 pieces of ramp as well.
I like them.
Is the main grievance is with these 4 mana costing things is just the fact that it costs 4 mana, and at the time that you could play these particular types of ramp, it isn't particularly advantageous for you?
Yeah, I think the main argument that people have, and I can understand the arguments, is that you want to ramp on 2 because usually your commander costs, I don't know what the average cost of a commander is, but
like
let's say
3
it's
plus.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 plus. Well, 4 plus.
4
really.
plus, sure, yeah.
Yeah, the advantage is that gained with 4 plus. So basically what they want you to do, or what the advice is to get your commander out as quickly as possible. Now, I think for some decks that's very, very valid.
Mm-hmm.
And for others, I don't think it's so as valid. I think certain decks will really want their commander on the field at all times, and certain decks will want to wait for an opportunistic period of time to cast their commander once they've done a little bit of setup.
I think I've definitely, because I listen to a lot of Magic podcasts and stuff, and I definitely play the talismans and the signets and stuff like that. But there are cases where later on in the game where you top deck a talisman and it's okay, well, this is just a dead card. But if you top deck a Hedron Archive or something, yeah, sure, you can pay the 6 mana to draw 2 other cards, or if it's been on the battlefield, it actually does something. I think people are trying to play more competitively with the 2 mana ramp, and that's fine. But like a lot of commander games in general aren't fast, and they last like an hour and a half, and you kind of need that slow grindy value sometimes if you can't kill people right
I
away.
think that even if you ignore the draw on Hedron Archive, things like Golem's Eye or Sisay's Ring, I think those still have value and have been, they've been sort of poo-pooed lately. But the thing with them is, if you're playing a commander game that, like, if you push into your 12th turn, you're going to have 10 mana on the field. I mean, you have the mana to play these cards. If your commander's more expensive to get on the field, you have a way to help with that. Like if it's 6+, turn 4 can still be ramped for you. I think the dislike towards them is because a lot of the new commanders people are playing, the ones that they're really pushing out from Wizards, really have like not competitive commander in that sense, but they do have a competitive mana cost that they're starting to do. So 2 mana, 3, 4, they're sitting in that range. Whereas back in the day, you kind of had more 4, 5, 6, even higher.
I feel like with Legends they have made the commanders a bit more fairly costed.
With
do you,
Commander
Legends was
yeah. Do you
Legends
feel
was a triumph in that sense?
Absolutely. Do you feel that with the rising popularity of things like CDH and the power creep that has, is quite obvious coming in, do you feel like this kind of like the sight of 4-cost ramp and things like that has been lost because the average game that like say for example you and I play, or like at a kitchen table, doesn't necessarily super ramp super quick and then has no need for it? Do you think do you feel that the average game really does have a viable place for these forecasting things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the thing that I always have is that a 4-mana rock at any point in the game, really, when you cast it and you get some use out of it, means that you can't. People think that. Well, I think there's a misconception that the use case of 4-mana ramp or 2-mana ramp is to cast one big spell, and that's true. If you have lots of ramp, you can cast one big spell. But I often think that the advantage of having a double producing mana rock on your board is that you can cast 2 small spells, or you can just take more actions in the game. So lots of people say, oh, well, you can cast your commander a turn early. Okay, well, that's great. But with a 4-mana rock, potentially, I can cast 2 spells that turn and ramp. So, for instance, I can cast a Hedron Archive and then cast a piece of 2-mana ramp. So now I've ramped 3 on my turn, and then when I untap the next turn, maybe I can cast 2 more spells, which one of them could be my commander and a pair of Lightning Greaves. So the more actions you take in a game, the better off you are, and I think that ramp is inherently powerful because of that. And if people lose sight of it. They're like, "Ooh, what are you ramping into?" Well, I'm ramping into my 2 5-drops that I've got in my hand.
On the note
or my 10-drop
of that commander, you mentioned you could play your commander. I mean, if your commander dies on the field and you just had enough mana to play it, then you're going to be waiting to draw a talisman and a land or something. You need 2 card draws that'll net you mana, of which there's a specific rate in your deck. So chances are it won't be 2 turns back to back. It'll be 3 or 4 or 5 turns maybe. You don't know how long it'll take you to get there. Whereas if you're running something like an Golem's Eye, Sisay's Ring, or Hedron Archive, and you draw that, you don't have to wait as long. You got it. Just play that card, and next turn, boom, your commander's back.
And I think this can kind of transition into the next sort of topic that we have is the synergy with your deck. When it comes to 4-mana rocks, just having them in your deck, you're kind of committing to playing sort of a longer game, right? If you're running the 2-mana rocks and stuff like that, you're like, okay, I want to get my commander out. I want to do this stuff quickly and try and get this game over quickly. And then the player that is having like this sort of slower builds to have like more mana in the long game, like that person has a huge advantage by doing that. But that's kind of what you're trying to do, is just be relevant later in the game.
If somebody plays Sisei's Ring, they're going to wipe your field.
Yeah, they're probably if someone plays Sisei's Ring and you haven't killed them, you're probably gonna lose.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely an argument there for, you know, running these more expensive pieces of ramp with board wipes, so you can actually last till the long game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think we should like sort of look at the types of ramp and like how you can build your deck to, or how you can choose your mana ramp to synergize best with the deck that you're making. So with Itch Tactic, it's a token swarm deck, and it's going wide with golems, and it's putting 1/1 counters on creatures when golems die, or artifacts are put into the graveyard. So when I was building this deck, I was looking for cards that not only ramp me but synergize with the deck. So I found Jin Yang Gu, which each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it can tap for any color of mana. Rishkar does the same thing, but for green, because I'm token swarming. There's cards like Cryptolith, right, that just lets my creatures tap for mana, and this is, while a rampant growth that like just gets you a land into play and you have that land forever, these cards aren't, they have more than one, or they have more utility, sorry.
Yeah, and also they have more potential, don't they? Because they don't just ramp you 1. Like your Rishkar might ramp you 5 if you've got 5 golems on the field.
Yeah, it's kind of the high ceiling, like low floor. Like you can play Cryptolith, right, with nothing in play and never ramp. Or you can maybe have a few creatures in play and ramp yourself even higher.
Yeah. I think Rishkar is a really good example of a very, very low, a high ceiling but a low floor, in the sense that it's always going to give you at least 1, because he can put a +1/+1 counter on himself. And then if you've got anything else, it's just gravy. So
yeah, and a lot of people play like 3 mana dorks anyway. So this is just like a 3 mana dork with upside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I currently have an Isao Enlightened Bushi Voltron deck, and I found a couple of cards that are good for ramp in that deck, because it is a Voltron deck where one creature is going to be attacking. So there's cards like Sword of the Animist, which when a creature attacks, you search for a basic land and put it into play tapped.
That's really underrated. I think that's great.
Yeah, and a very like obscure card, Mark of Sakiko. It appears in 313 decks, or 311 decks out of 213,000 on EDHREC, and it says, enchanted creature, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, add that much green to your mana pool. This mana doesn't cause mana burn until the end of the turn. This mana doesn't empty from your mana pool as steps and phases end. So it's similar to Neheb's effect, but in green for 2 mana. I don't know, I think that's like an underplayed card as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think the argument against stuff like that is that, you have to have a board state for it to actually ramp you. Yeah. But for instance, in your Voltron deck, Brennan, like if you don't have your commander out and you're not swinging at people, you're already losing that game, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like the card like helps my deck win if my deck is like, it helps me stay ahead if I'm ahead.
So they complement each other. Like if you're playing if your deck is based around playing your commander and your ramp specifically works well with that commander, then congratulations, you're ramping well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't think
Right.
anyone's going to argue that playing like Rampant Growth and like Cultivate or like Sky Shroud Claim is a bad idea. Like it's just kind of boring, I guess. Like you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. You're ramping, but you could be doing a little bit more if you take like a risk.
Yeah, and you could also be providing, both entertainment for yourself because you're taking a little bit of a risk and you are, swinging in with your commander and potentially getting a huge advantage from it. But also, your opponents are going to be like, oh, that's some really cool tech that you're running in your deck. Like, okay, I've seen it cultivate 100 times, but mark of whatever.
Yeah.
I've never seen that card before, so.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, I guess a good segue from there would be into some interesting cards that have kind of been left by the wayside that have a lot of value in synergistic decks. Everybody's sort of familiar to a degree, I guess, with, not everybody, but a lot of people are familiar with Culling the Weak, particularly in the competitive commander crowd. It's very popular there, but you don't you don't see it as much in casual EDH. Lots of people will put a Dark Ritual in their deck, but Culling the Weak can be better. Yes, you need a creature on the field to sacrifice, but if you're playing in the color black, there's a lot of reanimate spells, there's aristocrats builds, there's a lot of ways for you to benefit from Culling the Weak. I think one of my favorite interactions, just to get another boo from Brennan because I'm collecting them like gold, is to play Fleshbag Marauder when you have nothing on your field. So rather than letting its ability trigger, you hold priority, Culling the Weak it, then it dies, then the trigger happens. So you have nothing on your field anyway, so you don't care. Everybody sacrifices a creature and you net 4 mana into the next thing you want to play.
Nice. That's sick.
Yeah, that's a really cool synergy.
That's awesome. And this is what I mean about playing 2 spells is sometimes better than one big spell.
Yeah.
So that's a 4 mana play, but that means every single opponent loses a creature and you still have 4 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just spent 2 cards.
You did spend 2 cards, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, that is the downside of playing multiple spells, but as you're saying, in a deck that wants to be sacrificing its own things and wants to have that synergy, that's probably not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like Culling the Weak is like all the more relevant for people building Tevish Zot that's making sacrifice fodder for you.
Mm-hmm. And you probably just got rid of 3 creatures. Maybe one of them or 2 of them were a commander if you got it early in the game. And it's almost like you did that on turn 4 and you still have almost another turn. Sure, you don't draw a card, but you have your 4 mana completely back. Play stuff from your hand. Have a good time.
Yeah, and you absolutely wrecked the person who ramped onto.
Oh, yeah. And
because they cast their commander early and then it got wiped away and now they've got less cards in hand and you still have the 4 mana to make extra plays.
Which brings me to my next card that I love. It's my favorite ramp spell in the game because if you have green in that same deck, you can do the same exact thing with Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is you pay 1 green, cast it, sacrifice a creature, add an amount of mana equal to the casting cost plus 1, and it can be of any color. So you can only use it for summon spells, but that's still in a creature heavy deck amazing, because you can then change the mana, say from black to green instead of black, like Culling the Weak. That would still be 4 with a flesh bag, but if you're playing creatures that are bigger, you can get a lot more out of it. The thing about Metamorphosis is it is good in a much greater variety of decks. You can use it with reanimate decks and roll into a reanimate spell. You can use it with interesting commanders. I think a good example is Zakama, where you play Zakama for 8, untap your lands if you only had 8, play this card, sacrifice him, put him to the command zone, replay him. Congratulations, you just netted yourself 5 mana.
A ton of mana. Yeah, I was thinking that. I used to have a Zakama deck. Just to mention that Metamorphosis is a sorcery though, whereas Killing Me Weak is an instant.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why it doesn't see like a huge amount of play anymore, I guess. But it's super powerful. I'm running it in Ixteka, hoping I can get a Phyrexian Triniform under it.
Yeah.
And encore it
Oh
for
my
2
God.
extra mana. Or 3 extra mana.
That's the play.
Yeah, that's the dream.
This card is it's a one shot. It's better than a one shot food chain, right?
Mm-hmm. And if somebody tries to
and
kill
food
your
chain costs like $500 or something stupid.
But I think it's interesting with like sneak attack. If you as a ramp card, it turns sneak attack into a ramp card.
Yeah.
Pay 1 red to cheat something huge out, then sacrifice it.
It's amazing with Maelstrom Wanderer. And also, there's that sacrifice tech. If you're playing something that you need to get in the graveyard, that kind of aristocrat's tech, that's very useful.
Okay, Green Warden of Marassa. You sacrifice it to this, exile it, and then get 7 mana, and then get the thing that you want to cast out of your graveyard. Hot.
Yeah, that's it. Or you sneak attack out Green Warden of Marassa for 1.
Sneak at for 1. Yeah, great. I like that.
Yeah. Any other sort of obscure cards, Spencer?
Yeah. So this isn't obscure, and yet for some reason it's only being played in 3% of decks. 3%. And this is a card that's recent, is really good, and everybody kind of recognizes it, and yet it doesn't show up a lot. And that is Treasure Nabber. Treasure Nabber is amazing, and people don't play it. It's currently around $8, 3 to cast, 3/2 Goblin Rogue. Whenever an opponent taps an artifact for mana, gain control of that artifact until the end of your next turn. It's amazing. It can draw a degree of hate, but it's worth noting that's because you're usually netting a lot of mana if 2 people play Soul Rings. Usually you're going to get at least 1 Soul Ring, but it's only until the end of your next turn. So it's not like you're stealing their stuff from them permanently. They're going to get it back unless you have a sacrifice outlet, which is really
Do they tap it and get the mana, or is it just as soon as they tap it, you take it and then it's your artifact to use till next turn?
So they tap it, they get the mana, then you gain control of it. So you'll untap it at the beginning of your next turn, which is really useful. So you basically get to use any mana rock anyone else plays, but they still get to use their own mana rocks too. They don't lose anything, but you net so much.
It might start seeing some more play with the new Grixis end your turn commander guy.
Yeah.
Where people just tap their rocks, then you get them forever.
Yep, that would work.
That's an interesting card, and it's an interesting form of ramp because it doesn't actually ramp you. It might ramp you, but at the same time, it also could just deter people from using their ramp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of like ramping you anyway, isn't it?
Yes, that's double advantage.
Yeah, so if I play Treasure Nabber, Minty probably won't tap his Hedron Archive, because then I'll get it.
No,
I'd
still be tapping. I'd still be tapping.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting. I having used it in the wild. While people generally don't want to waste their mana rocks anyway, and they might try and avoid tapping it if they have spare mana. But if they have a full clutch, they're going to try and play as much as they can regardless. And they don't see it as a mana loss to them, so they'll help you out if they feel they can get more stuff on the field usually.
Yeah. I think that's the correct way of playing it as well. I think I just like the card, but I know why people don't put it in decks, because I'm often cutting it from my decks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh, this will be the deck that I play Treasure Nabber in, and then I get down to my, I need one more card to remove, and I just end up cutting it, and I don't really know why. I guess it's because of that that the thing we're just talking about, it's not guaranteed ramp, although it is almost definitely guaranteed that someone's playing a little bit of artifact ramp and you can steal some of it, but it's still not. It doesn't feel as guaranteed as something like a I don't know, a Signet.
Yeah, especially if you're playing like War's Toll in Mycosynth Lattice with it.
Oh man, evil.
You're definitely ramping.
Yeah, the
Yes, you're definitely ramping then.
I mean, you could even something as simple as like liquid metal coating to just sort of somebody untaps, you liquid metal coating a creature, they attack with that creature. Oh, thanks, your commander. That's really nice of you. Really cool tech you can just do with this guy, and I think that a lot of the tryhards used to like it and got away from it when Dockside Extortionist was like the big popular thing. But I think a lot of us casual EDH players should pay a little more attention to the Nabber.
And that's kind of the things like with Wizards. They'll print a card that's like, hey, you guys got to make this work. And then people would be like, we can't make it work. And then they just print the card that just works. And it's Dockside Extortionist in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Dockside, and if you're playing a Treasure Nabber and someone plays a Dockside Extortionist, you feel pretty bad because you can't steal the treasures.
Can you steal gold? Because you have to tap gold to sacrifice it.
Yeah, but it's gone when you sacrifice it.
But is it tap like and then sacrifice?
No, treasures. Treasures are the ones that you have to tap. Gold you don't have to.
But
tap.
in either way, you could activate them in response. So you can't really steal them. Usually, people just sack them before the possibility is available, unless you're playing with something that keeps stuff tapped down on the field, because then it comes into play tapped, and then you can steal them.
No, because it says on the card it has to be tapped for mana.
Oh yeah,
the artifact has to be tapped for mana.
I just realized we're still talking about Treasure Nabber. I was saying you could attempt to steal them, just not with that guy.
No, yeah,
if someone's playing Urza,
no,
and they want to tap their treasure for mana.
No, because that's Urza's activated ability. So Urza's activated ability is tapping something. The thing doesn't actually produce the mana. Urza does.
Oh, okay. All right. Sort of off topic, I guess.
Yeah.
One more card. I always found I always really like Walking Atlas. So those type of effects that like green has a bunch of them. Walking Atlas is a 2-mana 1/1 that says you can tap it and put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. So that's just like a good ramp card in decks that don't ramp, really, or traditionally can't. Like
with a lot of draw,
Yeah,
I really like it.
I played in an Azurius deck that's kind of artifact centric, so I play it with like Voltaic Servant that lets me untap a creature on my end step, or Unwinding Clock. So if I have card advantage, I can just put a land into play on everybody's turn. Or you can just put one into play and then you're 1 mana ahead.
I know that Jordan had some
great.
very interesting cards that I'm looking forward to hearing about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can start that now. So Standard has had a couple of spicy releases in the last few months, and with that is some ramp. I'll start with Lotus Cobra first of all. So originally released in Zendikar. Lotus Cobra, if you have been living under a rock, where have you been? It's a 2/1, 1 generic green, and it has a landfall trigger. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is just one of the purest forms of ramp I think you can get. If like, it's just all advantage, and I feel like Lotus Cobra is a kill on sight kind of thing. Especially in early game. In Standard, if you've got a few of them in your hand off the draw, you are probably going to be playing your big stuff on, and like your really big stuff on, like turn 4 or 5, and there's not, unless someone is getting rid of it, there's not really much they can do about it. It synergizes well with other things like Migration Path, which is another card I like to talk about. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So with these like fetch land kind of spells where they come into the battlefield tapped. With Lotus Cobra, you essentially negate the condition that you get those lands tapped. So I know, like even with what's the 3 mana one that puts 1 in your hand and 1 on the battlefield? Cultivate, yeah. So like say for example, if you've already if you haven't played a land and you've got Lotus Cobra out and you get Migration Path on or you get Cultivate on, you put the land into the battlefield tapped, and then because Lotus Cobra's out, you get the 2 extra mana completely for free. So the cost of playing, like the 4-ramp spell like Migration Path, for example, where the lands go on the battlefield tapped, is essentially you don't get the disadvantage because you get that floating mana from Lotus Cobra, and it's of literally any color that you want. So you can if you can put it in any deck that you can have green in, and you're laughing, and there's just really sort of like no downside, I feel, to Lotus Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not really. It just like doubles up all of your landfall abilities, but also just like it's a card that rewards you for just doing something that you would be doing anyway.
Exactly.
Playing lands.
Another fun thing I like to do with Lotus Cobra is mutate onto it. Migratory Greyhorn's a great one because you put your land out, you get the free mana from Lotus Cobra, then you mutate Migratory Greyhorn onto it. It puts another land onto the battlefield that's tapped. It doesn't need to be because Lotus Cobra gives you a free floating one. There's just a lot of stuff you can do with it.
Yeah, it's really
and when
cool.
And then when you mutate stuff onto it, it makes it bigger, so now it's harder to kill.
Yeah, Lotus Cobra can get really combo-y too with like Retreat of the Coral Helm, Walking Atlas, Scourge Tribe Scout, Patron of the Moon, Bounce Lands. It gets nuts.
Yeah, I actually just picked one up for my ESOW deck, which is like kind of Enchantress base, where like all my ramp is enchantments, and I put in a Lotus Cobra just because it's a good card.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's insane. It's a ridiculous card. Turns fetch lands into black lotuses.
True.
Yeah, especially if you're playing like sack lands and fetch lands and things like that. It's just pure ramp. That's all it is.
As in like the original fetch lands or whatever from Zendikar or whatever they're called. Like a flooded strand. You play it, you get a mana, you sacrifice it, you get another mana because another land enters the battlefield, and then that land taps for mana. So it's literally a black lotus.
Yeah, or like a Fable Passage turn 4. Like you put the Fable Passage in, you get your free mana, then you sack it, you get your land and your free mana. It's like
insane to me that that's in standard. Like literally a black lotus style effect is in standard with Fable Passage and Lotus Cobra. That seems insane.
I think that like that's definitely a card that's gonna like see more popularity because it's like more readily available than it was before with like the recent reprinting. But like still like more so in Commander than in Standard, like you're gonna get advantage off it. Like in Standard, sort of everyone can play it, and everyone probably is playing it because the card pool is like so limited. So everyone's sort of doing the same thing. So if you're not doing it, you're at a disadvantage. But I think in Commander, especially, it's like you're probably the only one at the table that's going to have a Lotus Cobra. Chances are.
Yeah, but mind you, I would say that if you're running a green deck, I would think Lotus Cobra is almost an auto include. I might be wrong. But
yeah, if you're playing, like I said, I just put it in a deck that it virtually has no synergy with because it's just a good card.
And no one's gonna laugh at you for doing that because it's just I might because I like laughing at you. But I think it's a reasonable thing to do. It's an insane card.
Gets even better when you play it with things like Exploration, or a card that I really like is Gaia's Touch. So you can get 2 lands into the field. Gaia's Touch is crazy as well because it's like $2 and you can sack it for 2 more mana. So
I don't know why it's $2. Like it feels very stapley in green decks.
Yeah, it's also like 1% of decks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's from the dark.
If you're playing it with Reshape the Earth, so that's the new one from Commander Legend. Search your library for up to 10 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. It costs 9.
I like
You have Lotus Cobra out, you have no disadvantage. You spend the 9 mana and you come out positive.
Silly.
That's possibly a deck where you run Dreamstone Hedron.
Yeah, or you play an Expropriate, and instead you win.
Well, sure. What if you're playing Golos, Maze's End, and then you just win?
Oh, that's true as well. It's very true.
There's-
But then you'd have to be playing Golos, and you'd have to watch our previous video for...
Yeah,
more
I feel like
information on
Maze's
Golos.
End Golos is like kind of fair.
No.
Play Maze's End, but don't use Golos. Golos is bad in general. Nobody likes Golos.
Hey, we're repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
I think we should just
Come full
rail on
circle.
Golos every week. There should be like this moment in
Yeah,
every
yeah,
episode
yeah.
where just
Yeah.
screw that
So
guy.
we just shit all over the shit.
And this week on Let's Shit Talk Golos.
Right, I've
That'll be
got
the
a
next
ruling.
introduction.
I've got a ruling for you, and then Jordan can talk about his next card. But the ruling, Spencer, is that Treasure Nabber will not steal the artifact that Urza taps for mana.
Is it because Urza's tapping it?
Yeah, because Urza produces the mana, so the artifact doesn't produce the mana. So the Treasure Nabber doesn't see the artifact producing the mana.
So if you turn
Yeah.
Urza into an artifact,
If you turn no, but you didn't. You wouldn't. If you turn Urza into an artifact and then tap him using his own ability, you'd get the mana. You get the Urza.
okay.
Yeah, it's like with Kinnan. Like it does the double how much mana your things produces, but it doesn't. Like the mana comes from Kinnan, not the thing that taps.
Okay, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Sorry, I totally missed.
So-
yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I googled it just out of interest. Anyway, Jordan, carry on with some of your unusual.
No worries. So this card is actually making me think about making a colorless deck. This is Skyclave Relic, released in Zendikar Rising. 3 mana ramp, and it's got Kicker 3. It's an indestructible artifact. When Skyclave Relic ETBs, if it was kicked, create 2 tap tokens that are copies of Skyclave Relic, and each one of those tap for add 1 mana of any color. This looks like, I don't know like a huge amount of synergies with this, but this just looks like an interesting card that I feel like could have a lot of goofy stuff that you could do with it. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on Skyclave Relic. I feel like, you could kick it, get a bunch of, get all that free mana, and then pull it back to your hand, kick it again. You've now got even more. It's indestructible, so it's hard to get rid of. I feel like it's got a lot of utility across the board, no matter really where you're putting it. It condenses a spot in your deck because you essentially are getting more mana, if you do choose to pay to kick it, for example, so you can then compress the deck a bit and maybe take out a couple of extra things that Skyclave Relic then makes up for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think either like an artifact copy token deck or some sort of like actual go wide token strategy. This is great for like Second Harvest.
Yeah.
Anointed Procession of Skyclave Relics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that seems so good.
Um,
What about Divine Visitation?
they're
Get 2
4/4
angels instead. Yeah.
If you're playing it with Forsaken Monument, it'll tap, each one of those artifacts will tap for twice the amount of mana.
Oh, very cool.
That's
So,
insane.
like, what is this? Cold Steel Heart? That's the
It's
much
better
worse
than that.
version
Yeah.
of this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I don't mind, like, 3 mana rocks. Like, I like the ones that, like, turn all of your, or, like, help fix your mana. I can't remember their... What's the lantern card that does
Chromatic Lantern.
Chromatic
Lantern. But yeah, this card, like, you play it on 3. It's like a monolith. It's fine. You don't feel super bad for playing it. But if you play it later, you can, I don't know, kick it and get like 2 extra.
Yeah, like if you've already ramped previous turns and you have the available mana to kick it, go nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I like Jordan's idea of picking it back up again. That's pretty cool. I didn't twig that, because you can pick it back up again, kick it for 6 again, and then keep making token copies of it. That's quite funny.
Or if it ends up in the graveyard, like it's 3 colorless, so there's plenty of things that get stuff out of the graveyard for 3 or less. You know what I mean? So you can pick it right back up.
Yeah. I think that's it's an interesting one. I don't know the use case. I'm like, does it go in every deck? No, I don't know. But like, it's certainly very interesting. Token decks love it.
I think it's like a "we will watch your career with great interest" kind of card.
Yeah, there's also a weird synergy where it makes a token copy of Skyclave Relic, so it has the CMC of 3, not 0, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I don't know if there's something there, but it is a thing that's on this card.
I thought I've seen it in the Split Current guy. What's his name? The new Kicker Cares commander who's Simic.
Oh, I don't think anyone cares what a kicker is.
Oh, the serpent guy.
Yeah, but it's insane in that deck, because if you kick it and then take the counters off the Split Current guy, you get obviously another spell on the stack that's the same, and then they all come in as token copies. So instead of getting 1 Skyclave Relic and 2 token copies, you get 1 Skyclave Relic and 5 token copies.
Oh wow!
Which is awesome.
If you have doubling season out, would it just double the amount of tokens that it makes?
That would be super awesome.
But would you play it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I feel like I want to experiment with it. It definitely, like I said, it definitely looks like an interesting card to do fun stuff with.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's very strange. Like as I said, it's a card that I struggle to actually evaluate how good it is. So I'd have to play it a little bit, and I usually can evaluate things quite easily. I find and it's all personal, I know, but like when I see a card, I'm like, do I like that card or do I hate that card? And I'm really not sure about Skyclave Relic, but I think it could be interesting.
Yeah, I think if you're running token synergies, it's going to work well. There's that new Orzhov commander in Legends that came out, and whenever, at the end of your turn, you make, X1/1 spirit tokens for however many tokens you made that turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For example, so if you're running token strategies, kind of things like that, I think it'll pay off for you, especially if you can find ways to keep kicking it.
Yeah, it really is bringing Darksteel Ingot to the new age of Commander, because I remember...
Oh, yeah, Darksteel Ingot.
I remember using that...
I thought it was Cold Steel Heart.
Oh, Cold Steel Heart's 2 to cast.
Okay.
But also really good. But yeah, like, I remember using Darksteel Ingot way back in the day, and every once in a while somebody would do like a board wipe of artifacts. Oh, still got it. And I feel like that's going to be nice. Having 3 mana rocks that are indestructible is a lot more valuable than people will give it credit for.
Ooh.
Or you could find a way to make it a creature, and then you have 3 indestructible creatures.
I have a thought. Mechanized production.
Yeah.
On it. And you only got 3.
Yeah.
And you bounce it. Or bounce. Oh wait, I guess you have to put it on the copy. But you could win the game.
Yeah, you
could.
You could win the game. You could do it. Bruticlad likes it, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
Well, I know people often put like mechanized production on the Darksteel Citadel or whatever, the indestructible land.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
can't get rid
think
of
that's relevant. I think the indestructible thing is the thing that throws my judgment of it. Like, if it wasn't indestructible, I would question whether I'd ever run it. But the indestructible is, I'm like, how much is that? How valuable is that? Is it worth the extra little bit of mana that you're paying for it? And I think it probably is. Yeah.
The more we talk about it, the more excited I get about
I think it's interesting.
finding stuff to do with it. Yeah.
You're gonna have this
I'm
weird
buy
mechanized production deck.
I'm gonna try and buy it out.
Here's something I'm gonna throw down is if you can give it Shroud, which there's a lot of things that give artifacts Shroud, or you give it protection with, say, maybe Rebek, you have something that basically nobody's gonna be able to take off the field. There's your mechanized production deck right there.
Yeah. And if you're playing in Simic with Verzal, chances are you're probably just going to win the game anyway, because you're playing Simic.
Because he's playing Simic. So what we've learned is it's good in a Simic deck.
Yeah. If you want to make weird cards
that
work.
was my constructive comment for today's episode is if you're playing these cards, they're good in Simic decks.
Just a quick question: when you kick, say for example, I kick Skyclave Relic, I get my 3 tokens. Are those the 2 tokens? Are those tokens classed as being cast?
No.
No. Okay.
They just ETB.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say if you're playing Darksteel Ignet, Ingot,
You got it.
Yeah. You'll get that.
Just don't play it.
Don't play this instead. Yeah.
An interesting thing is also because they're copies of the original card. Let's say you play that in Kodama of the East Tree. You can now put 3 things that cost CMC 3 from your hand onto the battlefield.
Oh, there's the synergy with the CMC.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah.
That's gross. Yeah, that sucks.
Skyclave Relic, the secret hot tech of 2020.
Yeah, you could put... Well, no, but then it would only copy as 1, wouldn't it? It wouldn't copy as all of them.
Panharmonicon.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go away. Each of us have to build a deck around Skyclave Relic.
Just trying
Wait,
to break it.
And
hang on, I've got another.
We're going to play a stream game. And we're just going to try and make as many copies of Sky. The winner of the game will be whoever makes the most Skyclave Relics.
Hang on a second. Could you cast it like the kicker and then copy the effect with like lithoform, make more of them, and then the next turn then copy it with lithoform again, and just keep making indestructible tokens?
You couldn't recopy it with lithoform again because you'd need the spell or ability on the stack. So you'd have to be able to...
No, I just meant like the next turn, because you have to tap lithoform anyway, right? So on the next turn you could just spend the 4 and tap it and then make another token of Skyclave Relic, and you just I'm not saying this is a viable option, but you could just keep copying and making indestructible artifacts.
Yeah, definitely.
With Skyclave Relic, or with all the Skyclave Relics that you'd have.
Only net 1 though for every...
Yeah.
Except for the first time with copying the activated or triggered ability.
Well,
but you can copy the spell on the stack with Lithoform Engine, can't you?
Oh, right. It's so they're all spell or ability, so you can't actually
copy it once it's on the...
Well, you can pay for to copy a permanent spell.
No, it's a permanent spell.
But
you could Echo Storm it.
Mechanized production,
right?
And then before the trigger goes on the stack and your upkeep, because you've already untapped. Then you second harvest and double all your tokens, and then you win the game.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. There it is. We've done it. We've broken it.
Oh, dude! But you could also play like unwinding clock, so all these tokens are just unwinding all the time. Everybody's turn, they're untapped.
Yes. And then you play Mesmeric Orb and mill yourself to death.
Man, we are really focused on this card and how we can potentially build a deck entirely around it.
I'm glad I contributed something good. Yay.
The edit of this is going to be very interesting.
I want Skyclave Relic to be my commander.
Yes. We'll allow it for a week.
Or what is it? Trinket Mage? Which one gets CMC 3? I'm building this deck. I'm down. I have all the cards.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in my rock throwing deck.
Just throw copies of Skyclave Relic at people?
No, because then what I'll do is I'll turn all my rocks into Skyclave Relics with Broodiclad. That will be the synergy.
Ooh. Are there any other cards that people want to talk about for Ramp? Or should we maybe try and summarize the things that we've talked about today? Because it's kind of been all over the place.
So, we've been talking about Ramp that is either underplayed or not really valued by the community. And we're trying to provide use cases for them. So we hope you like what we're coming up with, and I guess we'll come up with more.
Yeah, I think it's you can play the standard ramp cards if you like, but it's more fun if you don't, or if you try and do something interesting with your deck. I know a lot of people just like struggle with deck building and like net decking. I don't know. I feel like it's frowned upon, but it really shouldn't be. If you're just trying to play, you play.
Not at all.
But
yeah, we're just trying to give you inspiration, right? We're just trying to make you think, oh, there's more out there than just my signets or my rampant growth.
We're trying to keep your Commander games interesting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of media out, or Commander content creators that are currently saying, oh, well, these are the only ramp spells that you should play. And I don't agree. I think there's a whole world of different and interesting ramp spells. And, like, I know we were being a bit stupid about the Skyclave Relic, right? But the points we were making was it's an exciting card. And exciting cards make interesting decks.
And interesting conversation.
Yeah, an interesting conversation and enhance the experience of everyone at the table. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to play boring games and go against the same stuff every single time. So when Jordan kicks his Skyclave Relic next time, or the first time, or whenever he kicks it, I'm going to be like, wow, you did it, man. You got there. And that's, and that's great. And I love that's the bit that we actually, well, me personally, I love about Commander is it's all just a big laugh with your mates at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's really how I build. Like as a new player, I don't really know like the crazy synergies and stuff like that, right? So I just usually go into like a deck build and be like, what's the stupidest thing I can do with the tech that I have?
Yeah. Oh right, okay. I was just going to say, no one ever goes, oh nice, when you cast a signet, do they? They go, oh,
unless it's like land,
nice.
Soul Ring, Signet.
I do want to
then they go, oh, nice.
I got a question for everyone. Based off of our discussion of synergies, the late game use of rocks, the alternative use for certain rocks, and the idea that there's more to non-staple ramp than people give credit for. Have we provided a justifiable argument for running Dreamstone Hedron?
No, it's horrible. Don't play it.
Let's go, Brennan. I like Dreamstone Hadron. I like it.
You guys should do a brawl match 1v1.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going in my Skyclave Relic deck for sure.
I'm going to play Dreamstone Hadron. Every time I'm on the stream, Dreamstone Hadron is going to be in my deck.
Well, we're playing tonight. We're going to see how that works out.
Well,
for you.
I'm changing my deck. I'm actually going to change my deck.
Who's playing today?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to cast it. Well,
oh, okay. So you're making your deck worse. Okay, that's fine. I thought you were going to win.
It's a lovely card, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah, if you want to play it, you play it.
Yeah, let's just like go through a list of all the cards that cost 6 mana and what they do.
That's probably quite a long episode.
So that's part 1 of this podcast. Stay tuned for the next hour.
Stay tuned for the next podcast where Brennan lists every card above 6 mana.
Well, actually, in our list of cards to maybe talk about, what would you rather have in your deck? A Savage Ventmaw, that when it attacks you get 6 mana until the end of the turn, and it's a 4/4 with flying, or Dreamstone Hedron?
Depends on the deck.
I would not stoop to playing green.
True.
Okay. I actually put Caged Sun in there just for that purpose, is to show that
to be better than Dreamstone Hedron.
Yeah, I mean, it in most cases it is better than Dreamstone Hedron. But the thing is, if you draw a Caged Sun when you have 10 mana, yeah, you're going to net a lot of mana, but maybe at that point you might need the draw.
Yeah, that's true.
Cage Sun was just reprinted in Mystery Booster, so it's only $5.
Nice.
So I feel like you should probably just play it.
I think that's a good idea too.
I think play. If you're a monocolor deck, certainly play. What's the? That's a whole nother episode. What's the use case for a Caged Sun? No, I had something actually relevant to say, which is, and Brennan gave me some stick for this before the podcast started. But I genuinely think playing an underrated card like Dreamstone Hedron or like Hedron Archive means that you're potentially subject to less removal. Because the card isn't as scary as something else on the battlefield.
It's I don't know, that's an interesting subject for like maybe another podcast as well. It's like purposely.
I can put a quick 2 cents in that one. From a new person's perspective, especially with like those underrated cards or those cards that you don't see as much, it's definitely like if it definitely makes you rethink your threat assessment because it's something that you don't know. Sometimes you might glance it over and be like, okay, that doesn't seem like too much of an issue now, and then you get 2-3 turns in later, and that's the thing that not ruins the game, but wins the game for the other person.
Yeah, what I'm saying is spending 6 mana on your turn to cast a Dreamstone Hedron, right, is it's not very good. Yeah, okay, it's not very good. It's okay. I think it's average, right? But doing the same with a mana doubler means that then all of a sudden everyone goes, holy moly, that's a mana doubler. We need to sort that out. So if someone else is playing something much more impactful than you, it plays back into the beginning of this podcast when I said it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and some of the time you just need to sneak under the radar and play your cards in a way that mean that you're not always going to be the target of everyone's removal. Or
I would be more inclined to remove the Lotus Cobra off the table than the Dreamstone thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
100%. And I would be more inclined to shoot the Sword and Feast and Famine, or something. There's always going to be something scarier than a Dreamstone Hedron, I think.
Yeah, there is a benefit to playing to not making yourself like the threat, or to playing like under. Like cards that people think are bad, but then also those cards are bad. So like, where's the balance?
Yeah, I suppose my argument could be used to just running every single Tree Folk in your deck.
Yeah, I mean, like
just being like, well, no one's going to hit me because all I'm doing is running Tree Folk.
As a person that plays bad travel decks, people still kill you for no reason.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, if you're playing against me tonight, Minty, and you play Dreamstone Hedron, I'm just gonna kill you. I'm just gonna swing all out at you.
You're gonna try.
I'm gonna blow it up. I'm gonna
Brennan, you haven't won a game against me in a while.
True. Except for tonight.
I'm bringing Mr. Fizzler, so.
True. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very excited for tonight. Anyway, I think that's all the time we have for this week. We will be back next week with another podcast. And if you want to check us out, Jordan, where can you find us?
You can find us at Instagram at The Canada Geeks. You can find us at Twitter at Canada Geeks. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Canada Geeks. And you can find us on YouTube, www.youtube.com/The Canada Geeks, where you can find this podcast and all our streams from Thursdays and Sundays.
Yay. Okay.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.